Welcome, everybody, to the Monday Motivation Spotlight. I'm Lesley Kaplan, welcoming you here today, as every Monday, with our co-host ACI, in order to bring you inspiring and motivating guests who are making a difference, especially during this challenging time for Am Yisrael. As you know, for those of you that are new, this program was started, the Monday Motivation Spotlight, was started at the beginning of the war, 2 weeks after the war started, in order to, number one, give exposure to amazing business owners, individuals, and organizations who are making a difference. And on the other hand, to keep inspiring and motivating us when we hear people's stories, as well as giving us a safe place to meet for 30 minutes every single Monday, whether you meet with your camera on or off. And of course, you can stay muted throughout the entire time. Although this part is not a networking forum, remember that if you're a business owner, feel free to share your details in the chat, which you're welcome, but to keep yourselves on mute. And today, if you're joining live, it's a double event, so stay with us. I will officially at 9:25 end this first half, but we don't disconnect from the Zoom. I just end the recording, and then we have a 5-minute break, and then we're leading into our second half with the amazing Hadass Levy, who is going to be sharing with us about websites and how we can maximize our business activities and our website. But before we start, I'm going to now spotlight our guest for our Monday Motivation Spotlight, my friend Yael Kaner, who I've known probably for about 12, 13 years, Yael, if I have to think back. Yael is a bundle of energy for anyone that knows her, an entrepreneur, always got a new vision up her sleeve. So what and who is Yael? Firstly, Yael lives in Ma'ale Adumim, and I'll start with the end. And more recently, since the war, she and an amazing team, some who are here, have taken on cooking for soldiers and cooking for other people. And that's with her background as a professional chef/caterer, as well as having cooked and done soup. I don't know if you want to call it soup kitchens, but cooked and made soups for people, needy people, even before the war. That's after her background. She's a resilient coach. She's a doula. She was one of the first Mashgichot/Kosher supervisors in the USA. And she also had an exciting career as a Sephardic Rabbanit in a couple of different cities in the US. So Yael, share with us, good morning, I'm delighted to welcome you here today. Share with us about your exciting background, career, Am Yisrael, and Kol HaKavod, with all this energy and making a difference, to and for so many people. Take it away.
Thank you, Lesley. Thank you so much for inviting myself and my team here. What I wanted to tell you about is I never expected to make Aliyah. My early life gave no indication. I was raised on a farm on the border of Maine and New Hampshire, and there wasn't any Jewish community there. So I was pretty much the only Jew. And throughout high school, I actually dated a Protestant minister's son. And so, and his father had been to Yale and studied Hebrew and knew Torah, or at least knew the first book. And he and my father had a gentleman's agreement that we would never end up together. And what happened is by the time I was 16 years old, I had had enough of being the solo Jew. And I left and I went to university, and I went to the larger city in Massachusetts, which is Worcester, and I went to Clark University, and that was the first time that I ever met Jews. When the holidays rolled around, I went my first time in a reform shul, and I thought, kind of left me cold. They had something they called the Rolling Stones, which is the 10 Commandments rolled back and forth, to open the ark. It was very dramatic. Okay, so that didn't suit me. I got involved with Hillel, and actually there was a rabbi with a hat that came towards me with this big long stick, and he's walking towards me, and he says, "You want to shake a lulav?" I said, "Shake a what?" I had no idea what a lulav was. And so that was the beginning of my journey. And getting involved in Hillel gave me a roommate that had just come back from a year course, had spent a year at Kibbutz Keturah, and she really put me on the path. I had no clue, milchik, fleshik, I didn't know any of it. So I changed my major to Jewish studies. And then what happened is I finished and I went to Wurzweiler and I met on the first day, this very charismatic young rabbi. And we ended up getting married and we stayed married for 24 years. And then we got divorced. And then I was alone for about 2 years, and then I remarried almost 20 years ago, and so had the experience of blending a family. The husband that I married the second time, Yosef, he had lived for most of his life, most of his adult life in Israel. He had only gone back to America to make money because they were having a hard time making it here. And so it turned out that he had an apartment in Ma'ale Adumim, and we started talking when we were going out. And I'm like, I've always wanted to live in Israel. And the first husband said, "Oh, we'll save up," and it was like never enough. And the second husband said, "Yeah, I want to go home." And so uh, we were thinking we'll go north. And then he said, "I have a house in Ma'ale Adumim." I said, "Ooh, tell me more." So I walked into this house because I basically walked out on a fabulous job. I was a chef at a hotel, and I walked out on this job after 8 years of being there in this amazing situation, and came to Ma'ale Adumim. And when I walked into the apartment, it's like my body and my soul were finally like in the same place. I was so fulfilled being here. Every day has been a bracha. I've had a chance to try a lot of things because I never stopped trying. And so I was able to fulfill a dream and go to seminary for a year and a half in Jerusalem. I was able to join the Mishmar Ezrachi, which is the local sort of police auxiliary organization. I just tried whatever I wanted to. And I built a business. And I built a sweet little business called BubbieOnCall. And I was able to go around the country and support moms and families. And people would go on vacation, leave me their kids, and it was phenomenal. So until COVID came along, and the first week of COVID, unfortunately, one of my sons chose to end his life, and so that was a big blow, a big blow to come back from. But I gave myself about 6 to 8 weeks, and then I started learning at the Jerusalem Coaching Institute with Dr. Leah and Leah Ganesh. And so like from there, I started getting tools for resilience. And so one of the first things you do when you are studying coaching is they ask you to do a personal inventory. And the personal inventory takes a spiritual cheshbon nefesh of your skills, your strengths, your abilities, things that you like to do in the past, things that you want to do in the future, your lifetime achievements, all kinds of things that get you to look back and see what kinds of experiences you've been through things that you can use in yourself to overcome whatever your current challenges are. I obviously never saw suicide in my on my bingo card. And I never saw, divorce, remarriage, but all these things make you stronger, or you use different things. So by learning how to navigate, your child's mental health issues, going through the grief process and understanding it, blending a family, all these things became tools. And I learned tools from Dr. Leah about how to navigate all of this, and then obviously how to share it and how to strengthen other people, based on what I've learned, different exercises. So when Aliyah came along, that turned out to be a very soft klita. From having the apartment and having no, as I've learned, no mortgage is like the golden ticket here. The hardest thing about Aliyah was the language, because I struggle. I've learned disabilities, calclexia, a couple of other ADD, which I didn't even know until Dr. Leah pointed out. She said, "You might want to investigate this." Okay. Because I'm trying new things because, people who have ADD crave novelty. So that's me. I get bored doing the same old thing. So all of these things that went into Aliyah, what happened is when we came, we sort of made it we made it a mission that we would help young people. And because all of our six of our seven children were in America, and only one is here in Yerushalayim. And so what happened is we became a de facto sort of Chabad house, just an open door. I wake up in the morning and I say to my husband, "Who's here?" Because I never know who's in the beds. And so it started out with my original Ben Bayit when I was a Rebbitzin in Washington called me up and said, I have a kid, he's at Shalavim, he's 15, it's his first time, away from home. Will you host him? Well, we had Mendy, and Mendy was our gateway drug. Mendy brought everybody from Shalavim into our life. Amazing, amazing. So we've had a very good relationship for the past 7 years with the rabbis there, and every year we get new kids. And that was like the beginning of having just a really super open house. And so now these boys are now soldiers. The next group that's going to drafts in November. So they come and they live with us during the times that, because they're lone soldiers, they don't have a home base. If the mechina is closed, they're out of luck. So they've come, and many of them have lived with us. And now we've gone through just a batch of weddings this past year. Amazing, amazing stuff. But that brings me to the soldiers. So I lost my son, navigated that, navigated COVID, hung tight to my principles for COVID. And then along came the war. And so I have to use what's in myself to overcome this. I do tend towards being more on the anxious side. So I've had to learn more about mindfulness and practice these principles and reach out for help when I need it. For some reason, I'm very triggered by the ambulances. And for some reason, my house, Hashem decided, should be over kfi shachat. So I hear ambulances morning, noon, and night. But I say to myself, oh, they're having a baby. They're having a baby. So you have to use what you got. So basically, what happened is when my son died, I opened up the soup gamach, and I decided that I would give soup to the 40,000 people that are in Ma'ale Adumim. Anybody who needed soup, if they were sad, if you were sick, if you can't make it to payday, this is where you come to, and we'll fill up your bag and hopefully fill you up spiritually. When the war came, we expanded it, and I started doing something which I hadn't done before, which was actively fundraise. And so I'm using my skills inside myself that I had from being a Rebbitzin, because we built a shul, and that's a lot of connecting and networking, and I have to do that again. Only I'm doing it for my soldiers. So basically what I do is at the beginning of the week, I share what happened, what I sent out that week, what the team did. We have a group of probably about 10 volunteers or so that regularly cook for 350 guys. And the food has gone north to Lebanon, and the food has gone into Gaza. We regularly take care of 4 tank units. And we send out really high quality Mahadran, mostly food, and it has to be ready to be eaten, but it also has to be frozen because of obviously the heat. So we're doing a huge amount of work every single week, and it has become a full-time job. I don't need a job because I'm working literally minimum 3 8-hour days of just cooking. And I should mention that my kitchen is actually the size of a bathtub. It is so tiny. It's one of the little gallery kitchens. And people say, oh, I want to come, I want to cook with you. I'm like, where would I put you? So
Well, you do have a big oven. I do remember you have an American-sized oven, right?
Oh, it's beyond American. When I was a professional chef at the hotel in Maryland, I had a huge stove. It was like one of those, commercial ovens. Well, I said to my husband when we first came here that that I wanted to have a decent size oven because the Israeli one was extremely frustrating. I lasted maybe 3, 4 months, and then we went into the bank and we said, can we have a loan for this oven? And I never knew that I was going to need it so much. It's commercial size. It literally swamps the whole kitchen. But over the years, well, first of all, my husband had the foresight when we were coming here to put on our lift all of these commercial stainless steel tables. He built me a custom kitchen. He basically took the kitchen that I had at the hotel and shrunk it down. So overhead, I have a pot rack. It's very hard if you're taller than 5 feet like myself. The guys routinely bang their head on it. And over the years, someone gave me a freezer, and then I brought a freezer from America. And every single week, I fill up a chest freezer, and I fill up standing freezer, and then a refrigerator. I always say that my refrigerator you can hide a body in, so it's like huge, and that gets completely filled up. And everything has to go in frozen. The only thing I send in fresh is the rice, because that would be an affront to the rice to freeze it. It would be good. But we tried for the high quality. We try because I figured these guys can't call Uber. So every week I do either a Chinese menu, or this week I'm doing Greek, 2 kinds of Greek chicken. I take all of the Sephardic cooking that, the recipes that I learned from my congregants who were Iraqi and Moroccan and Syrian. And for some reason, my twisted sense of humor loves to make Lebanese and Syrian food, because I figure as long as they're in the neighborhood, they should enjoy the local cuisine. so that's one of the things that I do. And we're sending out, when I first started, we were sending out 4 bags of food, and now I think we're up to like 13 or 14 of just mine. When I line it all up, and I've got it down to so like, for example, today I will start backwards, do the carbs and all that kind of stuff, get that in the freezer. Then the meat comes tomorrow. And when I say meat, we're talking between 18 and 20 pounds, 20 kilos, sorry, kilos, that's more, worth of meat arrives at our house every week, and it gets cooked off and then frozen.
So how do you get it out to the bases or to soldiers in the area, or they come to you? How do you distribute them?
We have the most amazing women. We have Yehudit Lindblom, and we also have Esther Lehrman Cohen. And Esther is fearless. They said to her, okay, you have to come north, but they weren't going to send a truck to meet her. So we load up Esther's little, sedan, pack it with food, and like there isn't like room for a toothpick when we're done. It's so filled with food. And then they said to Esther, now when you go north, drive really fast, don't stop for anything, get to the base and get out. So yeah. So
Wow,
we have
incredible.
the bravest women, and sometimes Yehudit is able to go with her on these adventures. I do not have the nerves to be able to do this. I mean, I'll be honest with you, I can't do it.
But you're in
Not
the
yet.
kitchen and managing the whole process, so we can't do everything and be everywhere.
No, and I tell my friends, and Alana will what do they call it? Confirm this. I always say not every mitzvah has your name on it. So that's not mine. But I will gladly. But the payoff is the soldiers. So once a week we get a video where they say, hello, Mali Adamim, and thank you so much, Bubbie, or whatever. And that to me is more than enough to keep me going. Like, you just pat me on the head, I'm like good to go for the next week. We had a situation, I won't say his name, but the commander comes out, and they said, oh, where's the food from? And they said, Mali Adamim. He goes, I grew up there. And so Yehudit says, oh, you're so-and-so. I'm friends with your mother. And we were able to feed him. That was so soul satisfying that we were able to, because these guys are eating corn and they're eating, tuna. And how many times can you have smoked tuna, really? So they really look forward. One thing that they love is the brownies. So everybody fights to Lisa Marcus is like amazingly making brownies for all these boys. And we're talking 350 guys max, More units want us, but we don't have the capacity. We need more chefs. We need more money. I'm starting to fundraise for Rosh Hashanah. It's going to be a 3-day holiday. I already canceled my personal company. I said to them, guys, if I'm going to cook for the soldiers, you can't be here. So because the refrigerator doesn't empty out until Friday morning. Can you imagine? Everything's full, 7:30 in the morning, everything's empty. And then you have to start thinking about what you're going to do for your own Chabad house. So, no, not in this case. I'm taking
no
Rosh
doubt.
Hashanah.
You especially can cope with that. I've no doubt about it.
Thank you. Thank you. But these are skills. When I was a young Rebbitzin, people used to say to me, why are you spending so much time with the sisterhood? Why are you down in the kitchen during services? The fact was, I was never good at davening. I was never good at, at the learning. And I mean, I try, but my service in this Jewish life is meant to be service, like I have to be hands-on. It's my ADD, it's my personality. So all these skills that I learned being a Rebbitzin, all of these horrible things that I thought were so difficult at the time have now turned out to serve me during this wartime. Choosing to study resilience has really centered me. And, so I learned about breathing, and I learned about meditation, and I learned about, staying positive and staying, listening to the minimum amount of news that I need to know. I learned about, creating a positive environment so that when these boys come here, Friday night, I had a soldier a sniper who had just come out of Gaza, and he gave us the full report of everything that was going on. But what am I trying to say? What I'm trying to say is by making a positive environment, these boys want to come here. This is where they consider home base. And this is what I can do for the war effort. This is my, when our legacy, if any of you saw that amazing video put out by Michal Malamed's daughter-in-law, when our legacy is written and our grandchildren talk about what we did during this war, I think that we can all be really proud that we cooked, we prayed, we connected, we checked on people, we encouraged self-care. We have a group of us that go to the pool and, just float away all the problems in the world and solve the rest of the problems in the pool. And we offered encouragement. And these are the most important things that I hope to be remembered for 120 years from now. And I thank you so much for letting me talk about something that I'm so passionate about, which is my soldiers. And I thank my team, because without people like Alana and Yehudit and Esther and Barbara Hirsch and all these amazing women from Ma'ale Adumim, we couldn't get this done. So
wow, absolutely. Yael, you are truly an inspiration to all of us. You've always been an inspiration. As I said, you've always been a bundle of energy and everything else. And you are certainly an example, and we've had many, but you are especially with this as well. Everyone in their own field, in their own pool, you are definitely an example of how every single one of us can make a difference, and not to sit back and say, yes, somebody else will do it, because that's what the majority of people do in this world, is that they sit back and say, no, well, someone else will take care of it. And you are definitely that example of being hands-on and doing it. And yes, I forgot to mention in your bio about the BubbieOnCall. I did plan on mentioning it later, and then you mentioned it. And that is incredible too. The fact that your own grandchildren, most of them are abroad. And so you came here and wanted to take on and be everyone else's Bubby or Safta, or however else you want to call it. And you, as you just summed it up, basically you're accumulating your lifelong work in every single aspect, and now focusing it on soldiers. And I also learned a couple of new things about you, which I didn't know as well. So, you think you know someone and you know everything about them, but you don't. So, Yael, thank you so much for being our guest on the Monday Motivation Spotlight. For those of you that are joining live, do not log off. I'm going to officially end the recording very shortly of the Monday Motivation Spotlight, and then I'll tell you off the recording exactly what we're going to be doing. So thank you again for joining. Thank you, Yael. Thank you to our host, ACI. I'm Lesley Kaplan, welcoming you every single Monday on the Monday Motivation Spotlight. So we will see you next week for then. Bye. Have a great day. Am Yisrael Chai, and carry on being resilient in the same words as Yael has used today.